By the time they're adults, they're set in their ways, and they thought I was kind of nuts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Empire Podcast interviews. Yes, where we like to interview everyone from pastors to actors, rappers to trappers, and everybody in between. But before we get into today's guest, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Yes, we're trying to build it up, so please help support, and we appreciate everyone's support. My name's Antonio D. Miles. Thanks for joining. And so let's get right into our esteemed guest. Yes, he is the owner of the McDonald's Museum in San Bernardino, and he is also the founder of Juan Pollo, Mr. Albert Okura.
Hi,
Albert.
Antonio.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How you doing today, sir?
Doing good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Antonio.
And so how's your day been so far today?
Day's been good. Another hot day, though.
A very hot day.
I think it was 102.
Easily. And it's crazy how hot it's been out here.
Yeah, other than that, things doing great.
Yeah?
And we're getting ready to do a car show this Saturday in San Bernardino. It's a Rendezvous. And we've done that for about 20 years.
We're talking about Juan Pollo?
Well, we have a Juan Pollo vehicles.
Okay.
So
That's going to be in the car show?
Yes.
Wow. Now that's impressive.
We're promoting Juan Pollo.
I like it. What's the name of the car show?
It's a Rendezvous, the Route 66 Rendezvous in San Bernardino.
Oh, wow.
They've been, they were doing it about 20 years, and they were out for a couple of years, and I think it's about 7th year in a row again. It's all day event.
This is amazing. I didn't know about that. Do you know when it's going to be?
October 1st.
Oh, it's coming up like very soon.
This weekend.
This Saturday coming up, huh?
Yes.
Oh, man.
9 to 9.
9 to 9? 9. I like that. Cool. Hopefully it won't be too hot that day.
It's supposed to be 88.
Okay. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So, Mr. Okura, can you please tell us, the people who don't know who you are and what you do, who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Albert Okura. I was born in 1951, Los Angeles. I'm a native Californian. Both my parents were born in Southern California, and their parents came from Japan in the turn of the last century. And even though I'm 100% Japanese descent, I'm not bilingual. I only speak English, and which is kind of rarity. Most people got into the restaurant business because I do Juan Pollo restaurants since 1984. And most people I met, if they're Asian descent, they're immigrants, and I'm not even bilingual, so I kind of don't fit the stereotype
of that whole situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, so I'm kind of a unique. Most of the Japanese in my generation, I'm 70 years old now, but most of my Japanese that grew up with when I did, they went to college and got degrees, which I was cut out for something other than college. And I found my niche when I was 30, which was Juan Pollo Restaurant.
Gotcha. So, so for people who are like, what does Albert do? What would he consider himself? How would you answer that?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. When I was younger, I had all these dreams and ambition to do something, but I didn't know what it was. So I would go read books left and right, self-help books, like How to Win Friends and Influence People.
It's a good book.
And Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Great book.
And but I would study those books and just think about it. And I thought too much. I didn't. The ingredient I was missing was taking action. My mother and father could not really help me do what I do, because I found out I'm really an entrepreneur, and I didn't know that at the time. My parents were not really entrepreneurs. They wanted a steady and stable job, and they didn't see what I saw, that there's opportunity, but I didn't know what to do. And when I turned close to 30, that's when I just decided I better do something in my life. My early years, I was mostly influenced by McDonald's, McDonald's was my favorite restaurant when I was 10, 11 years old. And so that's why my first real job was working at Burger King in 1970.
Okay.
And and then I stayed with fast food in the 1970s. The fast food system just grew like crazy in California. Every year, everyone just opened a new chain, and it was a boom time in fast food. And working at Burger King started in 1970. I kind of rode that wave, and but then I quit Burger King in I think 1977, 78. And one of the reasons I did that because I didn't want to grow to be 50 years old and say, "Oh, I work at Burger King," and it just wasn't. I thought there was more to life than that. So I quit and wanted to do a couple other things. And then when I was approaching 30, I knew I had to do something in life. And the only thing I knew was fast food. So I got a job at Del Taco as a general manager. And I was just kind of just waiting to see what happened. And all of a sudden, when I worked at Del Taco, the new chain came up doing chicken, and they were El Pollo Loco. And at the time, they redefined what chicken was because up until the El Pollo Loco, the only chicken in town was fried chicken, and mainly KFC and Pioneer Chicken.
So Del Taco and El Pollo Loco are connected?
No, well, no. Uh, I just the Pollo Loco came out. Actually, I was working at Del Taco
At the time.
in the city of Carson, and across the street, a Pollo Loco was opening. That's the connection that they were opening. And I didn't even know how to pronounce her name because nobody in the 80s nobody really spoke that much Spanish.
Yeah.
So everyone called it Poco Loco.
Okay.
And so they were going to open. I thought it was just going to be a little restaurant, and by the time they opened, they had lines of people.
Wow.
And I was shocked, and they were selling charboiled chicken, and they kind of redefined the chicken because really it was barbecue chicken, but they called it charboiled chicken. So they made a whole class of a new chicken, and what happened was they had lines of people, and I was shocked. And then it took me about 3-4 days till the lines went down for me to go inside, and I had the chicken. It was delicious.
Wow.
And it made a big lasting impression because I never really liked fried chicken because I couldn't digest the shortening.
Gotcha. It was too fattening.
Well, it's just too greasy or something.
Yeah.
Because when if you ever have fried KFC chicken and it's fresh out of the oil, it tastes delicious. And then so I was sometimes when I was young I would eat one, then it tasted great, so I ate the second one. By the time I get done with the second one, I got heartburn. And Pollo Loco had no shortening; they just fried it on the grill.
Simple. Yeah.
And so created a sensation all through L.A. area, Southern California, where within 3-4 years of Pollo Loco opening, everyone jumped into the bandwagon and was doing a charboiled chicken restaurant. And my uncle, so I grew up in L.A. And I was never out in Ontario or Inland Empire much. My uncle had he was in the grocery business. He had a shopping center, and there was an empty restaurant. And he heard about the Pollo Loco craze. He said, "Well, why don't you come out here?" Because he knew I was doing Del Taco. He said, "Why don't you come out and open up your own chicken restaurant?" So I came out, and I was 32 at the time. I said, I'm gonna do something. So I made a quick decision. I said, "Okay, that's what I'm gonna do." And I told myself I'll do this 5 years no matter what.
Okay.
And come to find out later, my uncle, he was really covering his bets. He thought he assumed I might go broke, but he needed tax write-offs. So I was sort of his tax write-off. So he covered his bet. If I failed, the money he put into it was a tax deduction.
Regardless.
Because he was in a grocery market business, and the market was there at the site, and he's making money, so he needed a tax write-off.
So he's like, let me help my nephew.
Yeah, so I said, okay, I'm gonna do this 5 years no matter what. And the first year we opened, everyone thought we weren't gonna make it because we weren't that busy. But something happened, it caught on, and I spent every day working to try to figure out how to cook that chicken. Because by that time I was a hamburger guy. When I worked at Del Taco, I'd just eat their hamburgers. When I went to Burger King, I grew up I ate their hamburgers, and
Yeah.
when I started going to McDonald's when I was a little kid, I ate their hamburgers. So I was a hamburger man.
Yeah.
I wasn't a chicken guy. And the other thing that happened right about the time in '84 was when I opened the first store in Ontario, and all of a sudden America started turning away from red meat. So it's a
Wow.
natural trend, and
Wow.
I had nothing to do with that. It just started. So people started coming and said, "Well, that's how you should cook the chicken." Because if you see the way we cook the chicken, we have vertical stacked grills, cookers, and they're self-facing. We put them on a skewer. They put four on the skewer, and they're lined up vertically. And we put the new ones on the bottom, and so they're always constantly being dripped on.
Okay.
And so it's a natural marination process. What was going on besides the marinade we did. And so people come in the store, even in the early years, and say, "Well, that's how you should be cooking chicken." Where if you were at that point, if you even today, if you have a fryer, you have to apologize or make excuses why everything else is
sorry.
fresh. Yeah,
Yeah.
or just try to avoid the fact that you're cooking it and shortening, or you say, "Oh, it's 100% vegetable oil or no fat, no way." And I would do nothing, and then people say that's the way you should be cooking chicken. And so that's how we kind of picked up the sales, and it just sort of just happened.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Like in the right place, right time.
right. It's the right place, right time because I never thought I'd end up doing chicken, and now 37 years later, I eat chicken every day. I don't eat many hamburgers,
Yeah. The
and
irony.
and
The irony.
I'm healthier now.
Of
So
course, of course. You know what I always find things in life to be, I guess they call serendipitous,
right.
right? Because if your uncle never called you and had the access, then this probably would have never even existed.
You're right. I think in my life it's destiny because I didn't think I'd get it. I had no idea what I was gonna do when I was 30. And then but I decided I'm going to jump and take action when something came up, and sure enough, it came up. And so it has to be destiny because I didn't plan that. And then the second thing that I didn't plan was buying the property that the McDonald's started in San Bernardino. And I didn't even know, I was growing up eating McDonald's, and I didn't even know their real history. Because what happened was 1961, Ray Kroc bought the company, and he disavowed any knowledge of the early years. And McDonald's actually started in San Bernardino in 1948, and then Ray Kroc bought the company in 1961.
Who's Ray Kroc?
Ray Kroc was a sort of a visionary. He was a salesman, and he was saying that he was searching for something that he could turn into a very successful business. And he sold the shake mixer machines. And up until McDonald's came along, every restaurant just would have one machine. And the McDonald brothers had, I think, 7 or 8 machines.
Uh-huh.
And then
Because he was the shake guy.
yeah, and he found out that these machines. Said, "I gotta go find out what's going on." So came to San Bernardino. Didn't tell the brothers it was Dick and Mac McDonald. And then he saw these lines of people, and he said, "This is what I've been searching for my whole life." And he stayed and talked to brothers, and he talked his way into becoming a franchisee at the beginning. And
Wow.
then so he saw that, and had he not come along, the brothers would have, because by that time they were the wealthiest people in San Bernardino, pretty much. And had he not come along, the brothers probably would just retired and just let the business go.
Yeah.
And so it's destiny that Ray Kroc met them. And at the same time, it was destiny that I had no clue. I worked in fast food. I grew up eating McDonald's. I had no idea McDonald's, the past history. And I opened my second store in San Bernardino in 1986.
Juan Pollo, correct?
Juan Pollo, yes. And when the same year that I opened up, a book came out called Behind the Arches. I read that book and said, yes, there was the McDonald brothers. They were in San Bernardino, and they're on 14th Street and E, and there's nothing there anymore. It said you could tell the remnants of the original sign, and they made passive reference to the location. And so I read that book, and I said, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. The McDonald's actually started in San Bernardino.
Yeah.
And so I that was 1986, the book came out, and the year I opened. In the meantime, I just kept pushing along with Juan Pollo, and because we're getting busier and busier in the 80s, 90s. And lo and behold, by 1990, late 90s, we had lines of people every day for lunch and dinner. And then I usually too busy to read the newspaper, so I happened to read the Sunday newspaper, and the headline in the local section said, "History for sale: side of the original McDonald's for sale. Nobody wants it." And then so I read the article, says that all these buyers come and make an offer because the building was in foreclosure.
Oh wow.
From the time I saw it, it was just plain old building. It was a music store. The first time I saw it.
You said music store?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was in '86 when I read about it.
Okay.
And now from that time until the time before in the foreclosure, the San Bernardino Civic Light Opera, they purchased the property, they renovated the whole thing, gated it, and landscaped it, and they must have invested $500,000 into the property. Then they filed bankruptcy, and that's why the building was in bankruptcy. And then so it said the price was $130,000.
Oh wow.
And this is 1998. So I read that, and the Monday I was in escrow. I found a real estate agent, a broker, and I said, "Hey, I need to buy this property." And the next day I was in escrow. And then so I closed escrow in 1998. And then I didn't really know the full history of early McDonald's.
Gotcha. Why did you want it?
I didn't know. I just knew I had to buy it.
Gotcha. This is some type of instinct.
It was there, and I said, I got to buy it. And I said, okay, worst comes worst, I'll put my Juan Pollo office there.
Okay.
And then so I buy the property, and then around October 1998, I still not sure what to do. I started clearing out some of the stuff because the building was basically empty. It was a completely renovated building, but it was kind of empty. And then my other helper says, "Oh, you have an anniversary coming up." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "The 50th anniversary of McDonald's. McDonald's started December 12th, 1948."
Oh, wow.
And I was in 1990, and December 12th would have been the 50th anniversary of actual McDonald's.
Wow.
So I said, "Wait a minute, we gotta open up." So I went to the mayor's office. Mayor Valles was the mayor. I said, "We're gonna have a grand opening at 50th anniversary of McDonald's." And she didn't think we could do it because she sent her lieutenant out there to check us out. It was just an empty building, but we pulled it together. We bought some souvenir stuff and bought some pictures and posted them out. And we had a grand opening of the museum on actual 50th anniversary.
Awesome.
And McDonald's is the biggest food company in the world. Everyone knows McDonald's, and they're the biggest seller of collectibles.
Like the toys?
Those toys.
Wow.
And then we're having our anniversary, and nobody covers it because the McDonald's, we caught them by surprise because in the 90s, the internet was barely going.
Yeah.
And there was no cell phones or especially smartphones. There was a few cell phones, but very beginning of them.
Mm-hmm.
And and basically no internet. So McDonald's kind of ignored San Bernardino because it was the middle of nowhere. And then they were kind of by surprise. So nobody at McDonald's, we got in the front page of the newspaper for our anniversary thing. And then, but the local McDonald's didn't know anything about it because their anniversary was a different date. Their anniversary was the date Ray Kroc opened his first McDonald's.
Franchise.
Yeah,
version.
and that was 1954. So we kind of took them by surprise, and we were covered by, I think, the Paris, the newspaper. We were in the front page of because it's big overseas in Europe.
Yes.
And then the Riverside Press and the San Bernardino Sun, they covered it. But then McDonald's they kept quiet on it because they didn't expect that.
Caught by surprise.
Yeah, and so eventually they changed their anniversary date to the to Ray Kroc's first store.
Gotcha.
They
The
never
54.
they never recognized the original date.
Do you know why?
Well, because McDonald's is a big corporate now, so they have no historians. They have none of the original workers. Nobody cares about the past history. The Ray Kroc's, the first restaurant where he opened in 1954, they tore it down twice already.
Wow.
And that was their link to history.
Wow.
So they didn't really care about the history. And then so I ended up opening a museum. And the common thread with the Juan Pollo and the Juan Pollo San Bernardino and the McDonald's is they're on the Route 66. And Route
Mm,
66 in the late 90s started to receive a big revival. It's extending today now to more world global. But in the 90s, the baby boomers started retiring, or they started buying Harley Davidsons and want to be Hell's Angels.
okay.
So everyone's traveling the route.
Then 66.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and McDonald's museum was on the route, and Juan Pollo's museum was on the route, or Juan Pollo. So I started meeting all these people that into the route, and especially locally, Danny Castro, he became a friend. He worked for the county for all these years, lifelong resident of San Bernardino.
Who's Denny Castro?
He was past president of the Route 66 Club in San Bernardino,
Okay.
and he was into the Route 66, and he grew up. His family grew up in San Bernardino. Has a lot of big roots in San Bernardino. And I met him because when I opened the museum, he worked for the county road the department. And he one day comes in and says, "This is 2003." He says, "Oh, you have to come by Amboy." I said, "Well, what's Amboy?" He said, "Amboy's for sale. It's the biggest attraction, potential attraction on the route in California."
Okay.
And Amboy was a living ghost town, basically.
Okay.
And Amboy is what most people refer to Amboy as the town that inspired the Radiator Springs in the movie Cars, the cartoon Cars. So if you watch Cars, the only town that really comes close is Amboy.
Uh-huh. I had a question about the museum. Um, what did you learn about McDonald's that you didn't know about when you purchased the museum?
Well, the thing I didn't know is any of the history of the McDonald's, and I think they made a tragic mistake because they invented a system that was absolutely amazing, and
What was the system
the system was they copied what Henry Ford did for the
for the cars?
Model
Okay.
T.
Wow.
And so they did assembly line because up until the McDonald brothers, all the hamburger places are kind of greasy, dirty, old, or
Okay.
and no health standards. And McDonald brothers, what they want to do mass production, they want a clean environment,
Mm,
and they wanted to just people come in, pick up the order, and go. Because when the McDonald brothers first came to San Bernardino, they opened their first restaurant on that location in 1940, and they weren't really just strictly hamburger. They were the barbecue restaurant.
oh, wow.
And so from 1940 to 1948, they were barbecue. And what they did was they became the richest place in town, the most successful in barbecue. But then they realized they got into the car hops also in
Okay.
time. So they had all these girls there, and they would find out the teenage boys, they would come and they wouldn't leave because they want to flirt around with the
The
girls.
girls.
And then when I did buy the museum, when I met a couple of the car hops. One was Dottie. I forgot her last name. She's since passed away. And I met her, and she was one of the original car hops, and
Wow.
she was like 92 years old at the time.
The car
And
hops are the girls that would be on the roller skates and come in the car.
she was a car hop when she was young, but this was 50 years later when I met her.
Got you. But that's what a car hop is, right? The
Yeah,
girls on
they
the
were
roller
on the roller
skate.
skate. Yeah,
Okay.
and then my dad was 92, and then she's out there flirting with my dad. She's a big flirt.
Wow.
So at 92, she's just flirting with like crazy. You can imagine how she was when she's 18, 19.
I know.
And
Woo.
so it's really but then the Dick McDonald, he realized, well, wait a minute, it became a teen hangout, so he needed more volume. So
Mm.
that's when he realized that most of what he sold was just hamburgers. So he had the idea to just mass produce the hamburgers, and he copied Henry Ford, which they made them all the same. And so it was the hamburger, and they put two pickles on top, a dash of onions, and ketchup and mustard. And they made them all the same, and you had to take it. And if you didn't want pickles, you had to take off your own pickles.
Yeah, deal with it
Just like
yourself.
Henry Ford said, well, if you can have any color you want, as long as it's black. And so Henry Ford and the Ford, they revolutionized the car business. And McDonald's, the brothers, they revolutionized the hamburger fast food business. And then The other thing was cleanliness and speed of service and that's what all it changed. When I worked at Burger King, they spent all their time trying to copy McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone tried to keep the restaurants clean because of that. And they would try to get good service, and McDonald's was clearly ahead of everybody. And so those things I didn't really. I had no idea what went on in San Bernardino. San Bernardino was a hub of all this.
Crazy things, yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that I guess cleanliness wasn't. I guess that's a revolutionary idea back then, right? In '49.
Right. Well, like I said, I wasn't born there, but
Yeah.
if you watch all the movies, they were the. I think the fine dining was always good shape,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just the fast food market where there was none. It
Mm-hmm.
was just the people trying to make a living selling whatever, and they're doing what they could to survive.
To make that food.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And is the museum like a historical site now in San Bernardino?
Well, it's so as far as people come to visit a lot of people make pilgrimage to come and look at the site, but as technically we're not really a historical building, because the original building was torn down in 1972, I think,
Okay.
and what remains is is the offices in the back, the building in the back of the property. That was the original storage area, there's another little room, outdoor room that was used to wash potatoes or peel the potatoes,
Okay.
which they revolutionized the potato business.
Wow.
And then there's office in there, and that was Dick McDonald's private office.
Gotcha. Do you
And
think? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and then next to that is his carport. And then what we have in the original in the front is the remnants of the original street sign without the
Uh-huh.
arches.
Do you think that it should be acknowledged as like a historic location, the museum?
Well, it doesn't matter because one way or the other, because people they want to come see the side of the original McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
So we get 100 or 200 people a day. One of the reasons we don't charge any admission, but
It's free admission.
yes,
Okay.
and we get people coming every day. And right now, all the things in there is pretty much donated. When I started, I was trying to buy some outdoor equipment or something at McDonald's, and then one of my other friends said, "Well, you don't have to buy anything anymore. They should donate everything." And so then I realized that most people they collect whatever they can at McDonald's. There's a lot of collectors,
Mm-hmm.
but what they do is, especially not the real serious ones, what they do is after a while, 5 or 10 years, they start just pack them away, put in the garage because
Yeah.
they don't want it in their house anymore. And then they get older and they sit there longer. Then they pass away. Then their kids have an estate sale, and they sell a box for $5, and then it's gone forever.
Wow.
And so we try to tell them. So well, look, if you got something that you consider valuable, you should leave it here, and then we'll put it on display. If you want it back when you're older, we're gonna come and get it. And so we try to take pictures of everything we take in.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so it's sort of an open, where more people can see what you have, and you can share more than if you put it on display here.
I love it. When did the characters, like I think one of them's like Grimace or something like that? When did those, and Ronald McDonald, when did those characters start coming about?
Well, those characters came about right after Ray Kroc started buying the company, because the brothers they were more serious and things, so they weren't into that. And the first characters, Grimace and Hamburger, they were sort of like evil. I think Ray Kroc had a little sarcastic type attitude towards the dolls, and so he gradually evolved into making more puppet-like or more kid-friendly. Because early ones were a little spooky. But that's part of the history of McDonald's.
You said earlier they were a little bit more spooky.
The first ones that came out, if you go look at our museum, you can see some early ones. There's like like Chucky,
Got you. I was gonna say Chucky. I used to hate that dang redhead doll. I used to have
So
nightmares.
we have a collection of different things, and the thing is that I never got involved in most of these toys because by the time I was a big fan of McDonald's growing up, by the time they introduced the toys, got the toys when I was pretty much an adult,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't have kids till I was 40, so I never really got into the McDonald's toys. So now it's sort of a retro that people are bringing things and so we're filling in the American toys now. What's happening now because of the influx of foreign travelers, and
Oh,
then
interesting.
because of social media because the book came out, movie came out. I'm sorry, Behind the Arch,
Uh-huh.
not Behind the Arches, uh,
The founder?
the Founder. Yeah,
Yes.
since that came out, that struck a chord in all the foreign type countries because they
Mm,
all
Michael Keane.
Michael Keaton, and once that movie came out, we had all these other tourists because social media. Once they see the movie, they type in McDonald's history, and it says, "Oh, there's still a museum in San Bernardino." And if people flying into the LA area, we're a short drive to the airport.
Yeah.
It's not that far if
Yeah.
they're traveling all over. So we get all these foreign travelers in, and plus, if you look at things to do in San Bernardino, well, we come up as an option.
Wow.
See, so we get a lot of attention, and then and when we do get foreign visitors, they see what we have, and then they go back home. They start sending their toys from their country, which Americans will never see.
Wow.
So it's like a sharing process.
What's one of the things that you've that foreign stuff that you've seen?
Well, some of the amazing things are there's a hockey collection. One of the years of the Olympics, I forgot exactly what year. They had made a whole set of it's from Canada, a whole set of Canadian hockey figures and outfits, and it was
Wow.
beautiful. And they were like, I don't know what it cost them, but it wasn't the kids meal things.
Okay. Not at all. Okay.
And then something I think Germany, some of McDonald's they sell beer, so they bought us a German mug
Gotcha.
from McDonald's.
That's what I really appreciate about McDonald's is that they adapt to the culture and the country they go to,
Yeah,
like the food.
they do that. And uh, yeah, so I forgot.
Yeah, we were talking about the different type of toys and gifts that different countries send over.
Yeah, well, the toys itself is yeah. The we get a lot of people from all over. Say, oh, I lost the train of thought.
Yeah, no, just different things that tourists have sent from different countries that were McDonald's things, like the hockey from Canada. Um, I also wanted to ask you because I heard this rumor. I'm not sure if it's true, but was it true? It's a rumor that that Cal State San Bernardino was supposed to be a McDonald's school if McDonald's would have stayed in San Bernardino.
I never heard that story,
Okay, so that's a
so I
rumor.
can't confirm that.
Okay. Yeah, there was a story saying, yeah, if McDonald's would have stayed in California or in San Bernardino, and they would have turned Cal State into a school of like developing McDonald's.
Well, what they did, they did their Hamburger U University in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Okay.
Man, what they did was it was a really great thing they did because they sent all the new general managers and managers to get training, and they call it Hamburger U. And so what happens? They give them certificates. So even though just training classes, they gave the impression that they're graduating with some kind of college.
Cool.
And then so it made a big impact on all the other chains because the McDonald's people felt the better because they had a certificate, a
Yeah.
diploma. And I thought it was a great marketing,
Very good.
and they selected Illinois because it's sort of in the middle of America, in the middle of you get the East Coast people, West Coast people, and they meet in the middle.
That's smart. Smart.
And so I thought that was great marketing.
Gotcha. And as CEO and founder of Juan Pollo, um, what type of marketing tips have you gotten from them and from other people that have inspired you for your marketing?
Well, the other thing I learned was volume. Do the volume and mass produce and get the production.
Okay.
And what I did was, and especially in early years, one of the reasons I survived, because I wanted the best people to do the cooking, and which usually meant me.
Okay.
And so you put your best people cooking the product, and then work on the consistency of the product. McDonald's, they pride themselves on the consistency. Everything was the same,
Gotcha.
and they also had the best French fries.
They did, right? Yeah. How'd you get the name Juan Pollo?
Well, Juan Pollo was when it came to do the name, we weren't sure. I had no idea because at the time everyone did a pollo this, pollo that,
Okay.
and because there was thousands of or hundreds of wannabe the next pollo locos,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all doing charbroiled chicken. We were the only ones doing rotisserie because rotisserie. My friend Armando Parra, I met him when I worked at Del Taco, and we talked about pollo loco. He says he had restaurants back home and they copied his style or
What was
whatever.
back home for him?
Chihuahua, Mexico
Okay.
was back home. And so when I had the opportunity to open it in Ontario, I called him. I said, come and help me. And then so he right away said, you have to do rotisserie. You don't have room to do charbroiled chicken. He says, the Pollo Loco made up that system for America. So back home we do rotisserie cooking. And so anyway, so he helped me get the rotisserie machines, and he came up with a seasoning. At the end, I said, "Well, we got to come up with a name. You help me with a name." And we settled on Don Pollo, which means stir chicken.
Yeah, Don.
And at the time, you just file a fictitious name application, but there was no internet, so we couldn't verify that other people had that name. So we're getting ready to get the final stages of getting ready to open, and I find out there's other restaurants named Don Pollo,
Uh-huh.
and so I said, well, we got to change the name. So then I'm thinking, okay, we need to call it Juan Pollo because Juan is a good Hispanic name. And Juan Pollo, it looks nice and sounds nice.
Okay.
So put together, Juan and Pollo, they look nice together, and it sounds nice. And the other thing is, the thing I learned about from McDonald's compared to Burger King. Okay, working at Burger King all those years, they started about the same time. Burger King started on the East Coast, McDonald's started on the West Coast, and they were and in the beginning, the founders of Burger King, they sold out to Pillsbury Corporation, which at the time in the 80s, 70s, Pillsbury was the biggest baking company in America.
I was gonna say, wow, baking company.
And
wow.
they were the king, and so they had deep pockets. So they were growing Burger Kings because they had deep pockets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Ray Kroc is building McDonald's because he had the willpower and he had the
drive.
Well, he had the marketing ability too. See, so he's the one we talked earlier about those the characters Grimace and
Yeah. Ronald
and Ronald McDonald
Yeah.
and so he came up with Ronald McDonald, and Ronald McDonald is fictional character, it's cartoon character, so he could be any place, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
And then Burger King, who they come up with? There is nobody.
No, they didn't have anybody yet for a long
And
time.
to this day, you can ask anybody. Who's the mascot of Burger King? Nobody knows.
Now they're calling it like the king, right? Now they're saying
I
the
don't
king.
know.
Yeah.
The last king I saw, he looked like a child molester.
Oh wow, he sure. Hello.
So there was no. There's no identity, and no one can say because they had a king on a bun for a while, and which no one related to.
Yeah.
And now you go anywhere, you say Ronald McDonald, they never know what that is.
100%.
And so I wanted the same situation with Juan Pollo. So I never forgot that. So because I didn't want to say Albert Pollo. It just doesn't.
I was gonna ask that, or Okura.
Yeah, because it's already bad enough when people see me physically. They say, "What's the Asian guy doing in a Mexican restaurant?"
Gotcha. Yeah.
First question, and that'd be the first question I would ask too if I walked into a restaurant, Hispanic themed restaurant. And because really what we are at Juan Pollo, we're an American company with a Hispanic theme. We're not a Mexican company with an American product. And
I
so,
got you. Can you say that one more time for the people to hear that?
Yeah, we're an American company with a Hispanic theme,
Not
and we're not a Mexican restaurant with American product.
I like that.
So, and then because to make it to do well, you have to appeal to a broad base,
Mm-hmm.
and with the Juan Pollo part, Juan is a cartoon character, and he could be anywhere. And so after I'm long gone, Juan will still be around.
Still exists. Yeah.
And because otherwise, to be more Hispanic sounding, I had to probably change my name to Alberto.
And a little O at the end. Yeah.
See, so that's what I learned about the McDonald's situation. Even and it really stood out when we compared McDonald's to KFC, because KFC was the Colonel
Who
Sanders.
compared the two?
Everybody or me, because if you look at KFC, their mascot was the Colonel,
The Colonel, yes.
and he's a real person. So when he died, he couldn't be anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other problem they had was at the end of in order for KFC to grow big, they had to change the recipe around here or there to make it conform to production. And the Colonel didn't like that because he said, "Oh, you messed up my recipe."
My recipe, yeah.
And then that caused bad tension between the company.
Oh, friction in the company.
Yeah, and so that's why after Colonel passed away, they never used his image for about 20 years.
That makes so much sense.
And then so I'm trying to look at these angles. So if we get big, this is the lessons I need to learn. We have a mascot representative, and then I have to stay low key.
Yeah.
And because I want the focus to be on the product, not what's my ethnic background.
Gotcha. Who made the product, basically?
Yeah, because in today's environment, everyone's sensitive about who owns the companies and where you're from, and
Gotcha.
so I want the product to be able to speak for itself, which is what I try to do.
Has anyone ever tried to come at you with cultural appropriation? Do you know what that means?
No.
Basically, someone's like, you're not Mexican, but you're selling Mexican food. You are appropriating our culture.
Oh no, because our whole menu is always been broad based.
Okay.
We have 3 side orders: it's beans, which a lot of Hispanics can relate to. We do rice, which is steamed rice, which all the Asians will agree to.
Mm-hmm.
And then our most popular one half the time is a potato salad, which Americans love.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a cult following with a potato salad, and it cracks me up because it's so simple with the way we do it, but
they love it.
they love it, and they don't know why. But I can't tell you why exactly.
Hey, sometimes things hit and you don't even know why.
Well, I do know why, but I can't. It was the answer's so simple. Why? People don't believe me.
Oh, well, tell us the answer.
Well, I can't.
Oh, okay. Well, he's teasing us, guys. He's teasing us. I could tell you, but I can't. Okay, totally fine.
Well, I could, but off the air maybe. But
I like that. Okay, off the air we will talk. Why did you choose Mexican style as opposed to any other style of food, like chicken sandwiches?
Well, actually, it's not really Mexican style because Armando, he came up with the recipe. And he told me, he said it's like one of those inventors and creative kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
He said, look, I don't want to be ethnic flavor. I want to enhance the natural flavor of the chicken. So that was his goal he set out to do. He didn't want a Mexican chicken. He wanted American chicken, Korean chicken. He wanted a chicken to bring just good tasting chicken.
Period.
And then the siders are more what your body will digest, because you eat side orders every day in chicken.
Okay.
Your body won't reject it. And I learned that from McDonald's, because McDonald's I grew up eating McDonald's either the cheeseburger or a hamburger or the Big Mac.
Yeah.
But is food that go down easy. You eat it every day and your body don't reject it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger in junior high school, I discovered chili fries, and I would eat chili fries every day. and then I got to the point where I overdosed on that.
You overdosed on chili
Well,
fries?
I just couldn't eat another chili fry for 20 years.
Wow.
And with McDonald's, I found out you can eat that every day, and your body doesn't reject it. See, some foods you eat every day, you can't take it. If you eat pizza every day, after a while, you just can't take it no more.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat a hamburger every day, if you eat In-N-Out every day, I used to love In-N-Out, but it's saying that your body can't digest it after, especially a little older.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's what I try to do with our menu. So it's things that are not really, our food is designed to strike a memory.
I like that.
So people say, especially the chicken, they say, "Oh, it's just like back home." I had a Korean guy. He says, "Oh, this is just like back home." You know, a lot of people in the Middle East says, "Oh, it's just like back home." And then,
Because the rotisserie style.
yeah, well, what it does is it sparks a memory of something they remember when they're young. What could be
Mm,
true, could be not true, but all that matters is what you think.
that's all that matters. Yeah.
You know, because what you think becomes reality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so we're really a Hispanic theme, and even when we early years we opened restaurants, the last customer base we get would be the true Hispanic, the non-English speaking. Do you think we get the Mexican crowd first? We always get the middle class crowd first.
Okay.
Even in the San Marino store, we're in the sort of the bad area of town, supposedly on the west side.
Got you. Across the street from Paris Hill Park.
No, the one on Fifth and Mount Vernon, which is more
Mm-hmm.
supposedly the gang area. I was warned though that's a bad part of town. Well, we built a trade on the middle class white,
Uh-huh.
and then and then the locals would come after.
Mm-hmm.
So
But the middle class white came first.
yeah, because it's we try to have a more generic restaurant. 'Cause if you have too ethnic, they won't come.
Got you. They'll get a little
Like
uneasy.
there's one
Yeah.
Middle Eastern
Smart.
chicken
Very
restaurant.
smart. Very smart.
Yeah, just one chicken restaurant in LA called Zankus. They do Middle Eastern, Persian, I think,
Mm-hmm.
style chicken. They do rotisserie, but they make it a little bit too ethnic, so they don't have a broad base, so they can't expand out of Hollywood area, LA area.
Mm,
You know, they tried to expand, but then they haven't really been successful.
got you.
So we're trying to, if you want to do well in the restaurant business, you have to have something that appeals to a broad base.
Got you. Something simple.
Yeah. But something that tastes good,
Of course. The two combinations.
but
And-
not too ethnic.
Of course. Yeah. Because you might scare some away. What was the name of the gentleman from Chihuahua, Mexico?
Armando Parra.
Armando Parra. Is he still part of the company? Is he what?
Well, he never officially became part of the company because actually the truth is I met him because his sister-in-law,
Okay.
she worked at Del Taco area, and he would come pick her up. And her sister-in-law is the one I married
No way.
eventually. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so that's part of destiny.
Okay.
So he would just go in there to pick her up, and she worked at the Del Taco, and before I quit to do Juan Pollo.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of got together after Juan Pollo became successful.
Okay.
But she lived with Armando married my wife's sister because they both were immigrants.
Okay. Let's slow down here. You married his sister.
No. Armando married my wife's older sister.
Okay. Married your wife's
And
older
my
sister.
wife's older sister was from Indonesia,
Gotcha.
and Armando's from Mexico. And
Okay.
they both met in an English-speaking class for immigrants.
Gotcha.
So then Armando came to America with no English knowledge, basically, and he had two kids from a wife in Mexico,
Okay.
and so he's looking for someone to take care of his kids. That's how
Smart
so I
man.
hooked up with my wife's sister.
Smart man.
And then, but in the meantime, she was in high school, or just out of high school, and he would give her a ride home. So that's how I met him. He'd come wait for her to give her a ride home when
Okay.
when she was working there. I was working there, And then later on, that I got together with my wife, so Armando became my brother-in-law.
Wow.
Even though at the time he's helping me, I wasn't, because I remembered him. I called him up, and I don't know if he got us back together, or got us together, but he helped me get the store open, the
and
first store.
and he came up with the recipe, right? You said
Came
for
up with the recipe, and he told me, he said, I want to bring out the natural flavor of the chicken. I don't want ethnic flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to get a broad-based appeal, because if you make it too ethnic, then half the people like it, instead like if we made it real spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Half the people love it, and half people say that's
They'll
not for
hate
me.
it. Yeah.
So he had a plan, and he accomplished it. So we're using the exact same recipe he came up with almost 40 years ago now.
Gotcha. Even the technique about how the rotisserie, that was his idea
Yeah,
as well,
the
right?
same thing. And now we're trying to modify that a bit to go forward and go mass production
Mm-hmm.
for more stores, but we haven't been successful in finding a alternate system yet,
Gotcha.
or something that helps, And we're trying to be careful not to do it. With some of the changes where they change things to make it like KFC to change the recipe to make it,
More appealing.
or more appealing for the bottom line profit.
Yeah. Wow. That isn't. I will say this to you, Albert. You guys will find a way. It will work out.
Well, I'm counting on destiny.
Yeah.
Everything is pretty much destiny in my life.
Yeah. I will say that. And I'll go back to my personal experience. Like the video, guys. Comment down below. We're having a great talk right here. I remember years ago, I was in Glendora, Azusa area, and people would rage about Juan Pollo. They're like, bro, they have the best chicken. You got to get their chicken. And it's crazy now. I'm sitting down with the owner and founder of it. So talk about destiny.
Well, you know what else cracks me up? The one thing that that people really love about the chicken is the skin.
They love the skin, yeah.
And then, but I've had so many people say the best tasting skin ever, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't plan that; it just happened.
It just is, And Armando's his name, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming he's got some. He's okay, right? He's not sitting, homeless. He's taken care of, right? For all his contributions that he's done to the
Yes.
company. Awesome.
Yes, he's doing good.
Armando, we want to thank you, Armando, because who knows where Mr. Albert would be right now without you. So we want to thank you. And we also want to thank the women in both of your guys' lives as well, because that probably also makes a big difference for both of you guys in your life and career. Correct? Am I correct?
Right? Yes. Oh yeah.
What I wanted to ask was, I thought it was genius that you said keep it simple and not too like, I guess specialized, because that's how
Right.
you lose customer bases, right? Which I feel like that's kind of something you probably got from like the McDonald's concept too, right? Keep
Right.
it simple.
Yes.
So is Juan Pollo currently a franchise? And if it is or isn't, would you like it to be franchised?
We are, yeah, right. I went to actually there's 25 Juan Pollos,
Okay.
23 are franchise, and the state requires us to become a legal franchising company. And once you have more than 7, I think, locations with the same name, you have to become a franchise.
You have to.
Well, the state wants to regulate. They want their cut.
It's so they can get you get
Yes.
taxed basically.
Oh yes.
Okay.
And so we're under strict guidelines now. But we don't have a strong corporate structure, because what happened was when I started, I wanted to be like McDonald's and get people, the employees, get to help let them get their own stores.
Oh.
So most all the early stores were actually all of my early stores were all opened by people who work for me.
That's impressive.
And the mistake I made was I didn't have a corporate team, because I wasn't married, and Armando really wasn't part. He was more of he wasn't
A business person.
business. That's why I was lacking, the business source. And so I let everyone make too much money.
There's
So
no regulation on
yeah,
it.
so there it wasn't tight enough. So everyone learned to just make their own money, and then so that will slow us down if we want to expand further
Mm,
because they're not used to paying what normal franchises would pay.
okay.
And my concern was helping them get open. So my two oldest sons, they've taken over pretty much the finances of the company. So we're in a little bit of a situation where we're trying to get everybody up to speed
Okay.
because with the laws and rules and regulations of today, we need to do high volume to pay all the extra costs.
Okay.
And the only, and
Is this just for the state of California or is this
well, it's going
nationally?
to be pretty much for everybody.
Okay.
Because when I started in the 80s, there was very little regulation, especially in California, on business.
Okay.
It was sort of wide open where you're allowed to go make money and, as long as you pay your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's less rules and regulations. And now they keep changing laws and they don't tell us, so we have to play catch up.
Gotcha.
And right now the employees have more rights than the owners. So the only way around it to give all the employees the proper breaks and proper pay, we need to have a higher volume.
To be able to pay for all those things.
Yeah, and the current stores, the owners, they settled into semi-retirement, most of them, and so their kids, I was making their kids to take the next steps, but they're not being groomed to do the volume part. So what we're trying to do is get either company stores open or other young people involved in opening a store with doing volume, so
Okay.
we could become the model store. And then because we still have a big unlimited future,
Yes.
and because even with COVID, since COVID came, most of our Juan Pollos, especially the store I've been doing in San Bernardino, have increased sales.
During the pandemic.
Yes, because we have what people want, which is family food,
Mm-hmm.
reasonable prices. So we've always done well during recessions or bad times, and we've always done well in good times because if we concentrate on cooking the chicken right, nobody has better chicken than us.
Simple as that.
And so so my kids wanted to get the company more social media driven because they said that's coming.
It's
And
here. Yeah.
and with the younger generation, that's what they respond to. So if we don't get involved now, we'll get left behind.
It's very true. Very true. How long did it take your sons? May I say their names?
Yes, Kyle and Aaron.
Kyle and Aaron. How long did it take them to convince you, Dad, we need to move in this social media direction?
No, I've see, I've given the freedom to do whatever they want to do because they have, in 10 years, 10, 12 years, 10, 20 years, I won't be a part of in the picture probably.
Okay.
And so what they're going to do, they need to, if I say this is what I want, then they'll say, no, that's not what they want to do, and they'll most likely take off and leave.
Mm,
I understood the transition part a long time ago where you had to keep the door open so they could change things and not be bitter and realize that they're gonna do what they're gonna do anyway if I'm gone.
so might as well.
So I've been planning because otherwise Kyle, my oldest, he has the ability to go start his own company and make money.
He already has that.
He has the ability.
Okay.
And also, he took over the town of Amboy, and he turned that around. We didn't talk too much about Amboy, but
We will.
but he took over the finances, and we're making money there now.
Wow.
We're just a money pit for a long time.
Wow.
So he has the ability,
He's already proven himself.
and there's a big unlimited tap potential for Amboy, and he's not limited by any restrictions by any past partners or anything.
Gotcha. I love it. How important is keeping Juan Pollo a family business for you?
Well, it's not important. They could go either way. because I don't think I don't th- I don't see a family business as the only way. If they want to sell the company, it's fine. The, I have to leave the options open because sometimes you get if you have all family, like my thing is when I started, I didn't have any family helping me.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad weren't qualified; they were good people, but they think more like average people. And my dad couldn't give me the advice I needed because somewhere along the line he was told the wrong things, and
Ah,
his advice to me in business was it takes money to make money, and it's not what you know, it's who you know.
okay.
And little guy can't get ahead. Those are three.
Woo, that last one hurts.
Well, that's what he was taught.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he works. And my dad was the hardest working guy I ever met in my life. And I look back, I said, well, if he had made some adjustments here or there, he could have been wealthy.
Mm,
But then, he lived a good life. He still ended up with a $2 million estate, because meantime, my mom made him buy some apartments, low-income apartments.
smart. Thank you, Mom.
Yeah. And then, so he did okay, but then I was looking for something more. And I had two sisters, and they couldn't help me because the same thing. They're thinking, their thinking wasn't geared to the business. And so and by the time they're adults, they're set in their ways, and they thought I was kind of nuts.
I said